date of his first entry was February 1st. As Pietro watched the carnage unfold, he began to put together the pieces of what he had witnessed himself. He knew especially had executed everyone.
Hello?
He knew that the other thieves had been let loose. He knew but why? As Pietro pondered this, the news happened. What you have just witnessed are reports from around the world of monsters ravaging cities and towns. This all started with a mysterious message from an organization that calls itself the SCP Foundation. Their ruling body, the O5 Council, released the following statement. For those who are not currently aware of our existence, we represent the organization and study anomalous objects, entities, and other assorted phenomena. This mission was the focus of our organization for more than 100 years. Due to circumstances outside of our control, this directive has not changed.
I don't know, he's mad.
Of the human race, there will be no further communication. The SCP Foundation declared war on humans. How could this be? What had led to the O5 Council changing the entire mission from protecting humanity to ending it? Could it be possible that the SCP had taken control or influenced the Council's decision? Pietro turned on the radio, flipped the TV channels, and scoured the internet for information on what had happened over the past 24 hours. The first image he saw was a human-like creature with arms and legs twice as long as they should be, with deep black eyes, and a mouth curled up into a silent scream. Pietro warned that this was SCP-096, a creature that was docile and so silent. At which point the SCP would start to shriek and cry before hunting down the soft face and slaughter. He quickly changed the channel, realizing that even if SCP-096 was seen on the screen, it might be more than its on the next trip was footage of a gigantic animal in the middle of the ocean. This was SCP-160, a leviathan from the pre-Cambrian era. The creature was around 5,000 kilometers long and slowly swam just below the surface of the ocean. Noticing destruction across the coast. But SCP-169 looking for the source of vibrations and moves on its back. It began trying to escape the danger. The movement of the massive creature caused natural disasters around. On another channel, Pietro was watching as the chain of journal made a speech, announcing that the country was declaring war on the SCP Foundation. Off camera, the sound of a tinkling bell. The interest is of the British government and interjected with pen from the chancellor's desk. He approached the chancellor and raised the pen in the air as the camera cut away, but the sound of gunshots and yelling continued. The news reported that similar events involving world leaders by the exact same brother had been occurring since the SCP Foundation started its mission. Pietro searched through the suit's files to try and figure out what was happening, and found that SCP-662 was still intact. Next was a strange sentence that was plaguing New York until it designated SCP-610, covering its host in ashes and blood before sinking to take over. Finally, some good news, as the outbreak looked to be contained by the combined efforts of the Global Occult Coalition and the Church of the Lord. A massive containing monster, its sole mission was to destroy all life. It was fueled by hatred for living things, making it the perfect tool to go by Council's new state mission. Pietro had heard rumors of SCPs that could instantly view the world, but clearly the Foundation had been contacted yet. Did they want to keep the rest of the planet intact? Or maybe there were influence in the SCP Foundation who were trying to stop the O5 Council from carrying out their mission. All Pietro knew was that right now, there were some real nasty SCPs running around, wreaking havoc. Pietro simply heard an explosion in the distance, far away, but still close enough to make him nervous. Maybe he was better off staying in the city, waiting out the apocalypse. The suit was Pietro came on the screen. A squad of Foundation soldiers in the canoe. They were standing at attention as their commander paced back and forth, up and down the line. The soldiers' uniforms had the insignia MTF Epsilon 6 embroidered on them. The commander stopped in front of the first soldier in the line, clapped her hands, and informed the soldier she would be beginning the check. The commander pulled out a long knife and plunged it into the soldier's shoulder. Strangely, the soldier did not move. The sound or reality away. She moved on to the next soldier and repeated the process. This continued down the line until she reached the eighth soldier. This time, when the commander snapped the shoulder of her soldier, he noticeably winced and cried out in pain. The commander shouted, "Got a live one!" Pietro watched as the soldiers raised their guns and fired at one with the line down. He dropped to the ground. The commander moved on to the last soldier and fired on the shoulder. There was no reaction. "All right, we're clear," yelled the commander. "Let's move out." Pietro waited until the squad was out of sight. He made his way to the corpse line. He scavenged weapons and basic medical supplies. Then he buried the body, recorded what he had seen, and SCP 5000's log. He had no idea why the soldier was killed. Why the others didn't feel pain. Maybe it was maybe it was a squad of SCPs that had a human before continuing. First, practically all the SCPs that were held at the site had breached containment. He was able to walk into the compound unnoticed. And deep in the facility, he found scientists and researchers going about their business as if they had no idea what was happening out below. They must have been following the orders of the aircraft company.
Io sopra i cuffie della singola. I cumite?
scars of countless burning buildings. He needed to find more answers. He needed to uncover the reason the SCP Foundation was trying to wipe out humanity. He had learned a lot from Cyclones, and was sure that if he could just get to the inside, he would finally be able to prove the Foundation's work. Maybe he could stop. He took a step forward, but his heads-up display suddenly moved on. The suit constricted tighter around his body, slowing the blood flow to his brain. He couldn't move as his vision got dimmer, and dimmer, and dimmer, until he blacked out. What happened? Pietro says out loud as he looks at his vitals in the heads-up display of SCP-5000. He is still contained within the exclusionary suit that makes him undetectable to human senses. He checks the date and gasps in surprise. 3 months? I've been passed out for 3 months? He stands up and looks across the barren landscape. The screen inside the suit indicates that he has traversed half of the country since he left Site-19 3 months ago. Pietro looked down at one of his hands. He is holding another briefcase. Where did that come from? He wonders. Pietro has no idea what is inside the briefcase, but he knows it definitely isn't private. He tries to let it up. His fingers numb. He uses his other hand to try and pry the briefcase away from himself, but his hand only clasps too hard. Then a wave of calm washes over him. Something inside his head speaks to him, but it's not a voice, more like a feeling. It is a sense of purpose, and Pietro's new mission in life is to deliver this briefcase to SCP-579. Nothing else is as important. Pietro Wilson takes a deep breath and embraces his new purpose in life. He still wants to uncover the reason that the SCP Foundation is trying to wipe out humanity, but this will have to wait until he delivers the briefcase to SCP-579. Pietro doesn't know exactly where 579 is located, but he can feel a pull in a certain direction, so he begins to walk. Pietro brings up information stored in the SCP-5000 Foundation's records. He finds that all information about what SCP-579 is has been expired from the record. The only useful information in the file is that the counter-level SCP is located at Site 62C. At least Pietro has the destination. But he does come across as corpses. He tries to ignore them, but one stands out to him inside a house as he searches for supplies. It's the body of a recently deceased boy. He could have been more than 8 years old.
Ai loc?
Da, da.
Dacă stau mai mult dacă vrei.
As his hand touches the body, the boy's skin begins to move. It is as if hundreds of tiny creatures are scurrying just under the skin. Then, from out of every orifice comes hundreds of little pale worms, each with the face of the boy. They are all cackling as they crawl out of the boy's body and each will drain a few feet away. Pietro jumps back and runs. This is the last person I try to bury, he thinks. Pietro pushes forward, the hundreds of little laughing worms haunting his thoughts, until he puts a significant distance between himself and the little boy's body. Pietro continues to walk towards the direction of Site 62C. He passes more corpses, but decides to stay clear of them. Although the suit makes it so Pietro doesn't need to rest, he can only go so fast. He enters a small, abandoned town that looks like something out of an old western movie. A tumbleweed blows across the dirt road. Pietro sits on the wooden step of the local saloon and takes a break. He looks down at the briefcase in his hand. He hasn't had the urge to open it, only to deliver it to SCP-579. Pietro puts the briefcase on his lap. He stares at it and slides his hands along the leather, stops with his thumb on the latch, and pushes. The lock snap open. Pietro opens the briefcase. A bright light beams out, and he passes. When Pietro comes to again, he is miles closer to Site 62C. There is a warm feeling enveloping his body. He looks down at the briefcase, which is now closed. Wow, this thing is like my own personal skip button. Pietro thinks. He holds up the briefcase, unlatches the locks, sees the bright light, and passes out again. He awakes once again miles away from his last position. So it wasn't just a one-off effect. Pietro continues walking across the country, switching between using his own legs and whatever magic is contained within the briefcase. He is making faster progress now. As he walks through a dense, deciduous forest, he comes across a pack of wolves eating the remains of an SCP agent. Pietro is undetectable to the wolves thanks to the SCP-5000 suit, and he makes his way over to the pack, quietly grabbing a laptop laying on the ground next to the agent's body. Pietro takes the laptop and goes away deeper into the forest before stopping to boot up the computer. He has not forgotten about the horrors the SCP Foundation has released, and he needs to know how the world has been doing over the last few months. What he finds is not good. The SCP Foundation has triggered the eruption of Yellowstone, destroying SCP-2000, which, unknown to Pietro, contained the failsafe for rebuilding human society in the event of a world-ending scenario, which this was starting to look more and more like. It was only a matter of time now before the soot and ash thrown up by the eruption blocks out the sun and much of what is left of the United States. The Foundation has also found a way to get SCP-2241 to do their dirty work at refugee camps. The young brown-haired boy is most likely being manipulated by the Foundation under the pretense that they are only doing what is best for their child. He has caused whole groups of refugees to turn on each other, leading to a massacre. The last entry says that the young boy is being sent to the Global Coalition holdout in Ganzir to help destroy some of the last threats to the SCP Foundation. A series of other SCPs have been dispatched by the Foundation around the world to continue the destruction of humanity. They even managed to use temporal anomalies to make it Christmas time everywhere around the world. So SCP-4666, the brutal evil-type creature that stalks the homes of children, is free to cause chaos. Pietro has seen it. He turns the laptop shut, throws it against the trunk of a tree, and opens the briefcase again. He awakes, standing feet away from a group of Global Occult Coalition soldiers who are sitting around a campfire. Maybe they know why the SCP Foundation is trying to end the world. He thinks. He decides that it is too risky to show himself to the soldiers, but takes some solace in sitting around the campfire with other living humans. The soldiers are sharing stories about what is happening. One catches the attention of Pietro Wilson. It is strange, but also may hold a clue as to why the SCP Foundation is trying to wipe out humanity. One of the soldiers recounts an event that he witnessed before leaving the Global Occult Coalition.
Ce?
Lasă-mi drumul liber. Mi-ai zis să mă drumul liber.
Ah, scuze, sunt beat. Că am băut apă.
Strapped into an interrogation chair in question. The interviewers were not getting anywhere until Ross was threatened with torture. To which he responded, "Do what you want. Once you realize you're not supposed to feel pain, there's nothing to be afraid of anymore." Pietro sits up straight and starts to listen more intently. He remembers stumbling across SCP soldiers on his way to Site-19 that exhibited the same no-pain mentality that this Samuel Ross seems to have. After that odd statement by Samuel Ross, there was the sound of wind. It started slow at first, and ramped up until it was howling like a hurricane. That's when the screaming started. The screams became louder and climbed to a higher pitch. Then the room went dead silent. The last thing that Samuel Ross said was, "Look what you've done to us. I told you that we lied, didn't you? That's what I really liked you guys, so I was no, we fight in the light, so you can die in the dark." Disgusting. Pietro sits back on his haunches and rocks back and forth. He has an ominous feeling that there is a connection between the missing pain of the SCP soldiers and the reason why the Foundation declared war on humanity. The soldier who told the story of Samuel Ross stands up. After that interview is when the destruction of Ganzir started from the inside. It is why the Global Occult Coalition is no more. God help us all. The soldier finished with his story, turns from the others and starts to walk away. As the soldier makes his way towards the woods, Pietro can just barely make out that he's taken his pistol from its holster before he disappears into the darkness. And blacks out. Pietro sluggishly and his will to keep going is because of the driving urge to get the briefcase to 579. He He wants so badly to concentrate and discover the reason the Foundation released the SCPs on humanity, but the need to reach 579 won't let him focus on anything else. He's noticed, though, that every time he opens the briefcase to skip ahead, he makes less and less progress. The warm feeling of the first few transports has been replaced by a nauseated headache every time he comes out of the trance. Pietro exits the forest into an open field. The wind blows across the high grass looking like green leaves, and standing scattered throughout the field are statues. As Pietro approaches, he sees that they are statues of Mobile Task Force Foundation soldiers. He slowly walks closer to the white marble statues. He reaches the first one and looks at the face of the frozen soldier. His eyes have been scooped out. All that remains are black, empty sockets. The arms of the soldier have been carved into blades, like a praying mantis. He walks past the first statue and proceeds to the next one, where he hears something move in the grass behind him. He spins around to look at the statue. He could have sworn it was in a slightly different position. Oh, that's crazy, Pietro thinks. He continues to the next statue. It is another carving of an MTF soldier. No eyes, blades for arms. This is really creepy, Pietro says aloud. He proceeds through the field. He walks up a slight hill and turns around to look at the field of statues. What he sees is terrifying. The statues have all moved and are now in different positions. It appears as if they were slashing through the area looking for something or someone. Pietro continues over the hill and comes upon a group of refugees. They are picking through the field. He begins to feel nauseous. It gets harder to breathe. Even the SCP-5000 suit can't keep him calm. He turns and runs back up the stairs out of Site 62C. Pietro begins to sob uncontrollably, as the memories of everything that has happened over the past several months suffocates his will to go on. Then, as if an invisible force that refuses to let him go takes control, Pietro feels as if a gun has been shoved into the small of his back. He is being sent back into Site 62C, whether he wants to go or not. He is unsure if what is forcing him back into the base is inside the briefcase, his own uncontrollable urge to know what is going on, or SCP-579 itself, but he could not stop himself from re-entering the doorway and proceeding into Site 62C. He doesn't know what SCP-579 looks like, but Pietro has a sinister feeling that it is watching him. He reaches the bottom of the stairway and proceeds down a dark hallway. The power went out a long time ago, and the only light in the depths of Site 62C is the dim glow coming from the helmet of the SCP-5000 suit. Pietro notices long gashes along the concrete walls, as if someone took a giant knife and dragged it from one end of the